And welcome back to America Can We Talk. As I mentioned before the break, I have in studio a friend and also someone who is just kind of an amazing community leader, Feleceia Benton. So first I want to say hello, welcome.
Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Just great. I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah.
So Feleceia founded something. She created an event. It's called Think Out, Be Light. And it relates to National Down Syndrome Day and to an event that will happen here in Dallas in just a few weeks. It is the heart-meltingest, coolest idea. So I just wanted to start by having you. And by the way, this is the flyer for the event. I want you to see this. It is in Dallas. Think Out, Be Light. It's a fashion show. This little girl on the screen is Feleceia's daughter, Zoe. But I want to have you just tell our listeners what this whole event is. You can tell I just love this event. So tell me all about it.
I love this event too, even though sometimes it's really stressful. The planning of it is a little bit stressful, but the event itself is really beautiful. So that's my little girl. Her name is Zoe. She was born with Down syndrome and no fingers on her right hand, neither of which we knew about prior to her being born. So it was a little bit of a surprise. But I've learned a lot about raising a child with Down syndrome, and I've learned even more about the Down syndrome community overall and other parents who experience much of what I do as a parent. So I really just wanted to create something, one, for my child to be celebrated and people like her to be celebrated. But I told this story last week a little bit about where the inspiration came from for the event. And so I had actually been thinking about doing a fashion show. I forgot to say that. I've been thinking about it. And it was one of those things that was just in my head.
You're kind of an idea person, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I know. God bless us idea people, right?
I'm glad for you. Yeah.
So we were at church one day and I saw a mom and her daughter. She had an older daughter, probably in her 20s, mid-20s, and both of them just looked like they could use a little TLC. And I thought about, what does it feel like to be a mom that has been raising a child who is differently abled for that amount of time? I could imagine that, that could be exhausting after a while if you haven't had other support and, and she was by herself. So, one could create a story as to what all those pieces were. But I felt inspired to do the fashion show from there. And a couple of days later, I was in a Target, off of 75 in Dallas, and I ran into a group of students who happened to be from the Soaring Eagle Center not the Soaring Eagle Center, the Notre Dame School of Dallas. And they were shopping, and the woman that was with them, her name was Carol Badalora, and I just walked up to them and I said, "You guys look like my kind of people. I've been thinking about doing this fashion show. Would you be interested in being a part of this fashion show with us?" And they said yes. And so all of that happened very quickly, like my encounter with this woman at church, a couple days later at the Target on 75, running into this group. And so that was 5 years ago, and we've been doing it ever since.
But I haven't even told our listeners. I kind of left it all in your hands. But the whole event is for people who are Down syndrome to actually be the models in this fashion show.
That's right. So children and young adults with special needs. So primarily children with Down syndrome is what we have, but we have children who have cerebral palsy, autism, just all a range of differently abled children and young adults. They are the show, and it's beautiful.
Well, actually, what is so sweet is, so first of all, this is a community event, and I know we have listeners all over the country, but if you're in Dallas or anywhere near Dallas, you can buy tickets. You can see on the screen. You can go to, in fact, I typed it out. It is thinkoutbelight.com and purchase tickets. But the whole point, what I love about this is it's celebrating and letting these children and young people who are differently able, to use your term, be kind of the center of attention in a positive way.
Yeah.
So do they like being models? What's the story?
They love being models. It is, we've got a couple of videos on the website that you have to go and check out.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So it's pretty incredible when the lights come on and you tell them to go. They are the most non-shy people in the universe. And they take the stage and they shine. We do a little model coaching prior to the event, and so we coach them on how to walk the runway, how to turn, where their points are, what to do when they get there. And so when the show begins, they know exactly what they're doing.
Well, I love it for the kids, obviously, or the models, but I also love it for the families. It's got to be, I just think there's so many people who have, whose children are kind of in the range of healthy and typical, whatever the word is, don't really probably think day to day how different life is in a family where you've got even just one child with special needs and everything about your life has to work around that child. And I feel like there's so much thought about, how do we help? But just to celebrate their exuberance, their identity, them enjoying themselves. I love that about this event.
That's right. It's a really great way for parents who have children who are typical, it's a good word, to introduce their children to other children and young adults who are not. It's a really great way to expose them. I get a lot of questions from moms and parents about, what do I want to do if I want my child to be raised in an inclusive home? How do I facilitate that? Yeah. And it's not something that comes naturally. It takes a little work on both sides. I also talk to parents who have children with special needs and say we have to relax some. And for the folks who want to learn about how to be a part of our community, we have to let them in, and we have to show them and walk them through sometimes the awkwardness of educating people about how we're going to live together in this inclusive kind of space. So I think I'll Be Light is a really great introduction to that.
Okay, this is thinkoutbelight.com, which you can go to. But the other thing I was going to comment about this was, beside the families coming, families having their children or young adults participate, families who are not at all part of that community can come and just feel like, well, gosh, you're supporting the community, you're supporting the whole, we're all in this community together.
That's right.
I love that.
And the really cool thing this year, I have a personal philosophy that everybody can contribute. So regardless of what it is you do or do not have, you can do your part for society. And so the folks who are a part of our fashion show, since they are the feature presentation, we are raising money for a family who has lost a lot of things. They've lost their home, a mother and daughter. They lost the mom lost her husband, and they also lost their brother and son sometime last year. So they've lost a lot in a very short amount of time. And so the proceeds from this event actually go to that family. So it's just our way of saying, everybody can contribute. These children and young adults can do their part, invite their friends. You can come and support, and we can give back to some folks who need our help.
The coolest thing ever. Last thing I mentioned, you were telling me, or I think you were saying last week, that you have, in addition to just buying tickets and coming, you can also be, if you're a designer, you could offer your fashions to be worn by these kids. Or if you're other ways professionals can be involved in helping.
That's right. If you are a business owner or a church or an organization, you can be a sponsor. The sponsorship levels are pretty inexpensive for sponsorship levels on average.
Yeah, they are. Believe me.
So you can be a sponsor. If you are a stylist or a makeup artist, or you have that kind of creative skill, we're looking for volunteers in that space, and we'll train you on how to work with our models. We have maybe one more spot for a designer. Our designers are coming in pretty strong right now, but we would love to have more volunteers.
I love that. And I think, not the last time I saw you, but previous time you were on my show, This Same America Can We Talk, we were talking about how, and in fact, it's really relevant right now because we just had, in Congress, we had the Senate decline the idea of this Born Alive bill. We had Senator Sass brought forth a bill essentially saying if a child survives abortion, that the doctor should then try to resuscitate or to care for that child. If the child survives, give it care. And I think part of the argument of the very ardently pro-choice or pro-abortion community is, people have to make tough decisions, and and maybe abortion's the best choice. And I'm only raising this to say it is a very tender thing for in the pro-life, pro-choice discussion in America for people to get past the argument of people who are arguing about, pro-choice should be an option is, you don't know how hard it is to deal with a child with special needs. And right. That is true. I do not. But I do know it's a potential rough, slippery slope when you start to say which life has value. And that's the other reason I love this, because it's valuing life of all different kinds, this event.
Yeah, I would say that every child comes with their own set of a learning curve. Every child does.
I'm with her, yeah.
And so who's to say that my child, who was born with a spare 21st chromosome and no fingers on her right hand, is going to be more difficult than my nephew, who was just rough, who's to say that the one child is going to be more difficult or easier than the other? So I think that every child, every human, every person comes with their own set of things, and it is the responsibility of the person to whom that human was gifted to labor and to steward whatever, the good and the bad of whatever that person comes with.
Okay, as I always tell you, Feleceia Benton, you're kind of heart melting. I mean, but that is such a good point. This notion that there's, that there perfect children exist out there that just kind of flow. And I can tell you, as a mom of 3 who are young adults, I mean, every child has challenges, and you got to be the mom. You got to figure out what they need. You got to, whether it's encouragement, guidance, discipline, whatever it is, you got to work with your child. So.
Right. Yeah. Every last single one of them. And there are lessons inside of that child that are for you as the parent. And your child was given to you for your set of lessons. That's my own personal philosophy, but I've just seen it too many times. I've seen that play out so many times. Children are a reflection of their parents. They are a reflection of the person from whom they came. And so they can't help it.
Love that. Love that whole message. Heart melting, as I told you. I told her it's against the rules to make the host cry. I told her that ahead of time, so we're okay. But this is a fabulous event. I really do encourage you, even if you're listening from some other state, you can make donations. Anyone can donate. If you're anywhere in this area, you can purchase tickets and go to the event. And just to spread the concept that the valuing of each unique life is part of a culture of goodness, a culture of including everyone and loving on everyone. And I love, as I say, the idea, this isn't just to buck each other up, but to really celebrate these precious young people.
That's right. And we are blessed in return. People come to this event and they cry the whole time because it's hard to take in. It's beautiful though.
Yeah. Okay. Can't get started on that. And on that note, Feleceia Benton, you are a rock star. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, you got it. Love it. Thank you so much.
Love having you. And again, it is thinkoutbelight.com. Great name, great event, great lady who founded it and runs it. So I hope you all can support it. And this is America Can We Talk. I'm Debbie Georgatos. Stay tuned.